Good afternoon and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources. Will the committee secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Considine.
Present.
DeLong.
Present.
Gurr. Hanson.
Here.
Jackson. Karras.
I'm here too.
Kazma.
Kasama?
LaRue Hutch.
Kasama's here.
Marzola.
Present.
Watts.
Here.
Chair Anderson.
And I am present. If you would please mark Assembly Member Jackson present when he arrives. It's nice to see you, Assembly Member Kasama and Vegas. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting, those here in Carson City, as well as anyone joining in Las Vegas or Elko or listening online. We have 2 bill hearings on the agenda today, but actually before we start that, I'd like to do some housekeeping items. Please silence all electronic devices while in the committee room. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and exhibits. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we may not agree with another person's position. If you are presenting or testifying, please sign in at the table by the door and leave a business card with the committee assistant. All exhibits, amendments, or other meeting materials must be submitted electronically to our committee manager by no later than 12 p.m. on the business day before the meeting, and 15 hard copies provided for members of the public. Proposed amendments also need to include the bill number, a statement of intent, and your name and contact information. When testifying in person, please turn on the microphone and clearly state and spell your name. Please also state for the record any organization or agency you are representing. Please turn off the microphone each time you are done speaking. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting, and each person will be limited to 2 minutes. You may also submit written testimony or public comment in writing up to 24 hours after the meeting. Speaking of which, if the 888 number listed on the agenda is not working, to provide testimony on a bill or public comment at the end of the meeting, please dial 669-900-6833. I will repeat that number again right after the first bill hearing. Before we actually get started on bill hearings, we do have 2 BDRs that the committee will be sponsoring. Just as a reminder, most BDRs, just as a reminder, committees are asked to introduce committee BDRs to begin the bill process, assign a bill number, and get it referred back to our committee, possibly our committee. Your vote to introduce the committee BDR is not an indication of your support. It is just to get the bill process started. Today we have BDR R388, which declares support of the legislature for certain principles of solar energy development in the state. Do I have a motion to introduce BDR R388?
So moved.
Thank you so much. Motion made by Vice Chair LaRue Hatch, second by Karras. Are there any comments or discussion on the motion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing none, thank you, the motion carries. A second BDR has been delivered to us, BDR 10679, which revises provisions related to natural resources. Lots of details in that one, I know. Do I have a motion to introduce BDR 10679?
So moved.
Thank you so much. Assemblymember Watts, second by Assemblymember Considine. Are there any comments or discussion on the motion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, signify by saying nay. Thank you, the motion carries. All right, so now let's get started with one of our first bill hearing will be Assembly Bill 132. Shouldn't have done that way, but I will open the first bill hearing today, AB 132, which revises provisions related to water. Thank you to our bill presenters, Assemblymember Urick and Mr. Johnson. You may begin when you are ready.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Anderson, Vice Chair LaRue Hatch, and members of the Nevada Committee on Natural Resources. It's definitely great to be back before this group today. My name, for the record, is Toby Urick. That's Tobyyrek, and I have the honor of representing Nevada's Assembly District 19. Some of you may remember I had the privilege of serving on this committee last session, and I have to say I actually miss this group. I miss the policy discussions. It's fun to walk back in and see so many lobbyists and staff that I just had built relationships with, and I miss the camaraderie of this group. So I appreciate the opportunity to be back before you today. Before I go any further, I want to make something very clear. I would never say that the bill I am about to present to you is simple. I care about this bill and I want it to survive. But I do believe that this is a very straightforward bill, and my goal and my aim is to make this presentation equally straightforward. This legislation actually came to me at the request of the Nevada Coalition of Wildlife in response to ongoing drought conditions that are impacting our state's wildlife. As our water challenges persist, we need practical, science-based solutions that support Nevada's ecosystems in a responsible and cost-effective way. Assembly Bill 132 proposes a slight revision to NRS 533027, which was enacted in 2017. This statute exempts the de minimis collection of precipitation from water appropriation laws in two circumstances. One of those circumstances, which AB 132 is amending, is water collected in guzzlers. Now, I remember my first session not quite understanding what a guzzler was, so let me be clear. Guzzlers catch and store water from rain or snow and can use pipes to direct that water to storage tanks and drinking troughs. They are generally located in remote areas, and they provide an important water source for wildlife during times of drought. To be exempt from the water appropriation laws, the collection must not conflict with any existing water rights, and the guzzler must meet certain requirements. Currently, the maximum guzzler capacity allowed by statute is 20,000 gallons, and a pipe length of 1/4 mile or less. Additionally, the guzzler must be developed by certain state or federal entities and approved by use by the Nevada Department of Wildlife. So in short, we would like to increase guzzler capacity and pipe length. And to help explain the importance of these changes and the benefits that they can bring to Nevada's wildlife, I'm now going to turn it over to my friend Larry Johnson, who's the president of the Nevada Coalition for Wildlife.
Madam Chair, committee members, Larry Johnson, again, as Assemblyman Urick said, I'm president of the Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. Our mission, quite frankly, is to protect and enhance our wildlife resources and perpetuate our sporting traditions. We've been active since 1991, although I believe I've testified on every wildlife bill in front of this body since, I think, a few years before that, okay? Why guzzlers are artificial man-made water developments for the benefit of wildlife, and question of why those are necessary. They are necessary because during the settlement of the West, man has monopolized water sources, and wildlife has suffered, and oftentimes wildlife has been pushed back into less suitable habitat that exhibits a few natural water resources. So guzzlers have been constructed as artificial sources of water that provide year-round water to all forms of wildlife. And we're obviously hunters, but at the same time, you need to understand that guzzlers benefit everything from insects to rodents to birds to predators to big game to you name it. Everything uses our guzzler projects. I think there's over a couple thousand guzzlers in the state, probably over 1,000 big game guzzlers. The remainder of them are smaller units for small game and small mammals. Guzzlers, again, as Assemblyman Urick explained, they collect natural precipitation, whether that be rainfall or snow melt, whatever. They collect the natural precipitation. They funnel it into underground storage tanks. The most common guzzlers are actually a large metal apron that is sloped to drain to a gutter system with downspouts into storage tanks that are located beneath the storage apron. Okay. The water is then metered out to a drinker, typically 100, 150 feet away from the collection apron. The design of these has evolved over the years to where we now really have almost no moving parts, very low maintenance there, and expanded in size. Many of our guzzlers years ago were built without the knowledge of the extreme number of animals that we're going to support with this water resource. And for that reason, in drought years, some of our earlier guzzler projects, wildlife is able to drink them dry in drought years. Up until recently, there had been zero precipitation in southern Nevada for eight solid months. Guzzlers were on the verge of being depleted, and at that point, the need for this bill becomes evident. Water precipitation in southern Nevada, and this bill is more important to southern Nevada than it is to the north. Okay, up north, our drought years, we get more water than southern Nevada gets in good years typically. And so this is really focused on the need for southern Nevada. We're at a point, if we do not have continued precipitation in the south. We've had some relief from recent storms, but again, the first precipitation in many, many, many months. That Department of Wildlife is planning to airlift water by helicopters and dump on these aprons to refill these storage tanks at great cost. And when I say at great cost, I'm talking about helicopter costs of $1,000 to $2,000 an hour that we can run up a bill of hundreds of thousands of dollars overnight. And at that point, Department of Wildlife comes looking to NGOs to help them in that endeavor. We have done so in the past, we'll do so in the future, but at the same time, we need to be planning ahead and try to make things better. Okay, that's really the purpose of this bill. Okay, the only other thing I want to add is that I mentioned the most common type of guzzler is the sheet metal apron slope to drain. The other type that is built in southern Nevada oftentimes is a slick rock, sometimes is a slick rock, to where a single layer of limestone collects the precipitation at the bottom. Little check dams and so forth are built to funnel that water into a pipe to downstream tanks and drinkers. Thus the need to expand the present quarter-mile maximum length of that pipeline to a half-mile. We need to look at every available site differently, and there are sometimes where we may need to run a pipeline longer to get into the storage tanks and drinkers. Okay. I'm sorry if I was too technical or drawn out, but that's the summary of it. Thank you.
Your passion comes through beautifully. Would you like to continue, Assemblymember?
That it does. Thank you, Chair. Toby Urick for the record. This is where I would plan to go through a section-by-section review of this very complex bill, but since there's only one section, I'll draw you to two subsections. The first is subsection 1 of Section 1, merely crosses out 20,000 and replaces it with 40,000. And in subsection 2, it increases the pipe length from 1/4 mile to 1/2 mile. And so I'll just say that these targeted, and as Mr. Johnson indicated, meaningful updates are going to allow these small self-sustaining water collection systems to provide a more reliable water source for our state's wildlife. And so with that, Chair, we're free to take any questions the committee may have.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the information and the speed of which it happened. I believe we do have a few questions for you. Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for the very thorough and detailed presentation. I do have one technical question. The 40,000 gallons, is that US or imperial gallons?
To Assemblyman DeLong through the chair, Larry Johnson, Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. Those are US gallons.
Thank you. That's it, Chair.
These are all-American guzzlers.
All right. Any other question? Assemblymember Gurr. Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of get the 30,000-foot level since this is not my wheelhouse, but is this collection tanks that might be, in rural areas, urban areas, and it's not drawing on any other water source. It's just from rainfall or snow, just big containers collecting it, and then you're going to disperse it out for these needs for the wildlife and that.
Larry Johnson, Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. First of all, entirely precipitation, whether it be rain, snow. And these guzzlers are located in remote and often extremely remote, sometimes in southern Nevada, only reachable by helicopter. In northern Nevada, we try to locate guzzlers at the end of jeep trails, cherry stem roads, etc., so that in the unlucky advent that they do need to be replenished, that we can get a tanker truck and run a hose and refill them and spare us the cost of helicopter lift.
Did you have a follow-up, Assemblymember?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. So now that we have clarified it's US gallons, could you clarify, is it union-made, made in America guzzlers? We're just having fun with you guys today.
Through the chair, Larry Johnson, Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. You've stumped me. I can't guarantee that in the past that these have been made with U.S. steel.
Sorry, Vice Chair LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair. I actually have a real question, so.
I beg your pardon.
That was a very real and serious question. So, obviously, we're not hopefully impacting the water in the area, right? And you said that it's a very small amount. My question is just, what are protections around the guzzlers to make sure, I'm coming from a ranch background, that cows and horses are not just coming and draining it the second that it gets filled?
Again, hey, thank you for the question through the chair, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, Larry Johnson, Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. One of the design features of guzzlers is that we very carefully protect the drinkers with heavy pipe rail fencing that wildlife can go over under or through, but both range cattle and feral horses are excluded from. We do that specifically because the water demands of those large animals is so great. They would drink our projects dry in no time, and we need to preserve our precious water for wildlife, which has much less water usage.
Thank you so much.
Chair, Toby, you're for the record. I really appreciate, through you, Chair, to the Assemblywoman, that question, because I'll be honest, tell you that as soon as I got this bill, I'm like, okay, what's going to be the problem here that I don't know about? And I actually had somebody reach out and express some concern about the potential of now us, by bringing additional water resources in, it could, exacerbate the underlying, or the problem that we're having, for example, with feral horses, and could that then undermine the very intent and purpose of what we're trying to do, of help our wildlife. And so I immediately reached out, started asking questions, and I did get assurances from those like Larry that are involved in developing these. They are all very well engineered to ensure that that problem is not a problem.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. We'll actually get started now on testimony on AB 132. And just as a reminder, please remember to clearly state, spell your name for the record, testify in support if you support the bill in its entirety, testify in opposition if you oppose anything, even just one little word, whether it's union made or not, it sounds like. Anything in the bill, even if it's just one small thing. Testing neutral is not taking a position. Please limit testimony to 2 minutes, and ditto is always appreciated. And also as a reminder, the 888 number listed on the agenda is not working. To provide testimony on a bill, please make sure to dial 669-900-6833. Why don't we get started here in Carson City?
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Warren Hardy, today representing the Moapa Valley Water District, here in support of this legislation. These guzzlers are exceptionally important, especially in southern Nevada, where we have extended droughts, and Moapa Valley Water District has programs where we work with NDOW to donate water in drought conditions, and so we're very much in favor of this. And I will speak to Assemblymember Hansen's question. In my younger days, I used to volunteer to help build these, so at least some of them were built non-union. But I am all-American, Madam Chair, so thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Paul Young on behalf of Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners. We're here today in support of AB 132 and thank Assemblymember Urick and the coalition for bringing this bill. Timing is of the essence, as Mr. Johnson alluded to. We're having serious issues with the drought in Clark County and Lincoln and Nye County, and we're currently running out of water in several guzzlers down there. So the expansion is going to help us today and going forward in the future. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Chair Anderson, fellow committee members, I'm Brad Bauman, Wildlife Staff Specialist for the Nevada Department of Wildlife, and I'm the Water Development Program Lead. The Nevada Department of Wildlife is in support of AB 132, increasing the capacity of water developments from 20,000 gallons to 40,000 gallons, and the pipe length from 1/4 mile to 1/2 mile. Some of this is going to be a little repetitive from what Mr. Johnson said, but I'll add in some details here. The Nevada Department of Wildlife builds and maintains water developments throughout Nevada where natural water sources have been compromised and where natural water is limited. The Water Development Program also helps restore and protect natural springs. In some cases, these water developments are essential for sustaining wildlife populations of all sorts. NDOW has 1,788 of these water developments throughout the state. So 1,301 of them are small water developments where the capacity is under 1,000 gallons, and we have 487 of them for larger capacity in which AB 132 is applicable to. So the typical water development size for these larger designs right now is about 10 to 12,000 gallons is our design, and we plan to stick with that except in certain circumstances. The largest of these water developments, we have 3 of them. And those ones right now have a capacity of almost 20,000 gallons. We're right below that 20,000 gallon mark. Currently, like you have heard with prolonged drought in southern Nevada, we have done water hauls using helicopters to bucket water into guzzlers. We've done that to approximately 25 guzzlers to date, and this is very costly. It costs about $15,000 a day, and in the next couple of months, we're going to spend several $100,000 bucketing water to these water developments. With that being said, NDOW is in support of AB 132, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Because you are from the department, I will be opening it up to the committee to see if there are any. Seeing none, thank you so much. And if you've got that written down, if you could submit that writing, because those numbers are so very specific, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Next.
Madam Chair, committee members, my name is Chris Costin. That's Kriscoston. I'm on the board of directors for the Coalition of Nevada's Wildlife, and as the chairman of the Muley Fanatic Foundation's Sierra Front chapter, I'm here today in support of AB 132. By increasing the capacity of our existing guzzlers, you will be providing much needed support for critical species and for all of Nevada's wildlife during these uncertain environmental times of extended drought. And I would like to thank you for all the hard work that you do on behalf of Nevada's wildlife.
Madam Chair, committee members, Ashton Caselli representing Northern Nevada Safari Club International. We just are here to show our support for AB 132 as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Anderson and members of the committee. I'm Bryce Pollock with the Nevada chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, for the record. We strongly support AB 132. I had a really nice 2-minute comment put together, but because Mr. Johnson does such a thorough job of covering it, the only one thing I wanted to point out, on the Southern Nevada dry spell that we had in the last year, it was 214 days of no measurable precipitation, not a one-off situation. This isn't a solution for a rare problem. The previous length before that, that was a long one, was 240 days in 2020. So it's something that we expect to continue in our dry state. And this bill plans and prepares our wildlife for the dry climate that we experience in the state that we know and love. Thank you.
Jay Dixon, DIXON, Water Strategy Group. I'm here today testifying in support of this bill on behalf of 2 large-scale agricultural producers, BTAS Nevada and the Flying M Ranch. Between the 2 of these agricultural producers, they graze several millions of acres of public land, and we have water rights for this livestock. And I may have been the one that expressed concern about the feral horses to Assemblyman Uhrig, and we went through this. I did my homework, and we feel confident that supporting this bill, we feel confident that this will not do anything to expand the range of feral horses. That was our concern. We fully support this bill. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tristan St. Denis. That's TRYSTIN_DENIS, and I am the policy associate with the Nevada Conservation League. I just wanted to say ditto.
Mike Ryan, Nevada Bighorns Unlimited, director and a active participant in the Guzzler building crew. We are very much in support of this bill also. And one thing I'd like to add, possibly that hasn't been said, is there could be, because of different designs, there could be some cost savings to make the dollars that are in use go a little bit farther because of tank size and some other issues. I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
It's nice to see you back in the building, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you.
Anyone else here in Carson City? Seeing none. Anybody in Las Vegas that would like to testify? Seeing none. Elko also does not look like there's anybody. So how about online? Again, the number is not listed correctly, so it's the 888 number is not correct. It's 669-900-6833 if you'd like to call in. AVH, is there anybody on the line?
Chair, the public lines are open and working, but there are no callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We'll now move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City who would like to offer testimony in opposition of this bill? Seeing none. Las Vegas, Elko, and AVH.
Chair, there are no callers on the line to testify in opposition.
Thank you, and let's move on to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City? Seeing none. Las Vegas, Elko, AVH.
Chair, there are no callers to testify in neutral.
Thank you so much. That concludes the testimony on this bill. Do any of would you like to come up to make any closing remarks?
Very briefly, Chair, for the record, Toby Urick, I needed to legitimize the question from my colleague at District 32 and tell you I was able to look into the issue of unionization on these projects. I was able to confirm that no union members were utilized in this because everybody's a volunteer. Thank you all. I know Mr. Johnson has some closing comments as well.
Chairwoman Larry Johnson again, Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife. One thing I wanted to clarify in this entire program. NDOW has 2 full-time guzzler crews, one in the south, one in the north. NDOW locates with their biologists, they permit through the land management agencies and supervise construction. Sportsmen volunteers provide the labor for construction. NDOW tracks and uses the volunteer man hours and the vehicle mileage as state matching funds that is put against a triple matching fund of federal Pittman-Robinson Act, which is also sportsman dollars collected from firearms and ammunition. They use it as a state match that completely funds all of the NDOW salaries, all of their equipment, backhoes, trucks, transports, water trucks, everything, pays for all of the materials for these water developments. No other state in the union has the level of sportsman involvement that Nevada does, and we're awfully proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so we will now, I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 132. And I will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 251. Thank you to our presenters today for joining us. I believe it's Assemblymember Koenig. It appears that it is Director Gokachia as well, who is coming to the table slowly. So welcome, Assembly Member, and whenever you are ready, you're more than welcome to get started.
Thank you, Chair Anderson, and thank you, Committee on Natural Resources, for hearing my bill AB 251 today. My name is Greg Koenig, Koenig. I represent Assembly District number 38. With me today I have Director JJ and Shada, who's both of their last names I'm not going to attempt to spell, so they can do that when it's their turn to talk. I just got out of a hearing in HHS and the microphones went out halfway through, so nothing like losing your momentum right in the middle of it. Typically when I'm looking at what bills I want to carry, I'm looking for things that I think can help the rurals, because I truly believe that Assembly Member Gurr and I really have the rural of the rurals, and Assemblywoman Hanson also. But and so this bill was brought forward to me by a constituent of mine, Kelly, and this one has, out of all the bills I have, this one has taken the most work, and I would actually like to thank some other people have worked on it that aren't up here with me, but have played a big part in having this come forward, and that would be Kelly and Stacy M. and Michael. I play basketball with him every morning, and I'll think of his name, Flores, who've all had a part in bringing this forward. So what this bill does is, and I've been told to smile, and I told them that I'm happy on the inside, but I've been told to smile a little bit more when I'm doing this, so I will work on that. But what this bill does is it has to do with mobile meat processing units to mobile, which will bring access to my rurals, especially the ultra rurals. It'll bring access to fresh food for them. I think what we'd like to do is turn to Shada and have her give some reasons on how this will help and some anecdote stories, and then we will turn it over to Mr. Goycochea to go over the bill.
Thank you. Shada Sanjida for the record, S-H-A-Y-D-A. Sanjida spelled S-A-N-J-I-D-E-H. I'm with the Nevada Department of Agriculture. I am the Meat and Poultry Program Project Manager, and I've been working on this program for the last few years to increase the access for everyone across Nevada for local meats and for processors to have options for their processing in state. We do have a limited number of USDA inspected facilities in the state of Nevada. We are up to 4 fixed facilities, and so the need for options is clear. And I can see mobile processing becoming a state inspected process as a benefit if it's done appropriately and consciously.
I've never known her to be that short-winded. Caught me off guard. Director J.J. Goycochea, just 2 J's, my initials, Goicoechea, Director, Nevada Department of Agriculture. Madam Chair, committee members, thank you. Assembly member, do you want me to go through this, or do you just want me to go ahead and put some more oversight?
It's pretty straightforward.
It's straightforward. You guys can read it. So what this will do, and Shada didn't give herself enough credit. Just this morning, we received an email that our meat and poultry inspection program, she has successfully answered all of the questions, jumped through all the hoops and over all the hurdles of USDA FSIS. So they are now drafting our cooperative agreement. So our state inspection program will come to fruition very, very soon. Her and 2 additional staff members are in the process of completing training, if they haven't already completed the majority of it, so that we can at least have some inspectors to get started in this program as we go forward. What this will do is it will remove mobile processing unit from definition in statute. It will make it an official establishment. So by that, they can be custom exempt, meaning that they can go out, they can harvest animals, process those animals for your own consumption or that of non-paying guests. In addition, because we will now have our meat and poultry inspection program, if we send an inspector with those to do an ante-mortem and post-mortem inspection, meaning before and after harvest of those carcasses, those would also qualify for our state-labeled meat and poultry inspection program. So that is what that would do, and that is what we are here to try to get through today so that we can, in fact, increase that capacity for rural Nevada and for everyone in the state. Everyone wants to know where their products come from, where their meat and poultry comes from, and what better way than to go right to the source.
At this point, Chair, we would like to go to questions.
Great, and before we actually do some of those questions, I do have a small question for you. I noticed that there is an amendment on Nellis. If you could kind of walk through just a little bit of that, in particular on 2C, and why that amendment was necessary for the amendment, if
Greg
possible.
Koenig, for the record, we will pull that up momentarily.
Yeah.
It's been a little hectic here.
I understand. And because I want to make sure that I'm understanding exactly what the difference is.
Greg Koenig for the record, it was Shada's language. We'll let her speak to that.
Shada Sanjita for the record. So the amendment that was proposed cuts out the language, the current definition for a custom processing establishment. In the NRS at this moment, custom processing establishment means a fixed facility. By having the language stay, meaning that a custom processing establishment is a fixed facility, this would effectively remove the option for a custom processor to have that line of business for themselves, and they would no longer be able to work as a custom processor. So the current amendment at the time removes the language in custom for it to only mean a fixed facility to mean a broader range of processing capacities.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Just need just a little bit more to it. So are there any questions? I actually do believe Assemblymember Kasama has a question.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, I see there's a fiscal note for the inspectors, but right now, are we paying outside inspectors to come in? I'm thinking there's a cost we're already incurring, and then will this ultimately save us?
So before we actually have the answers, just a reminder, this is not the fiscal committee. I think it's germane to the discussion. However, it's not the fiscal committee, but if you could answer that, that might help us.
Director Goycochea, for the record, Madam Chair, would you like me to go direct or through you?
Please go direct.
Assemblymember Kasama, thank you for the question. So yes, there is a fiscal note on there. Part of that, or the majority of that, is due to the fact this will be mobile, and we're not 100% sure how far out they may or may not go into the rurals. I am working with the bill sponsor and others, and we will be attempting to adjust that downward, definitely not upward. And we also, I just need to be clear, there is also another budget item floating around out there where Department of Ag and Health and Human Services are talking about merging a program together. Should that come to fruition and we do end up with those additional inspectors, there will not be the need to hire additional inspectors. We will have that capacity in-house to do this.
Thank you.
Greg Koenig for the record also. Eventually, this program, and especially if the position will not only be doing the mobile inspection, because that, I mean, we need to hire a full-time position, and that's not a full-time work at this point. But, so they will be doing other work, and it's fee-based, and eventually the hope and the goal is to have the fees support this position. Problem is, you can't start day one and pay for fees because it hasn't existed yet and you haven't collected the fees. But within the first year, especially the numbers for the second year, hopefully we can, get taken away. And then if this other thing happens that JD is talking about, where they combine the HHS with this, and then that will be adjusted also, so.
Madam Chair, Director Goycochea, for the record, my apologies because I did not completely answer the Assembly member's question. What we are doing now for inspectors was part of the question. As Shada mentioned, we have 4 USDA inspected plants in the state of Nevada. We do not currently have any because we're waiting for this agreement. We do have staff that we are training, thanks to Shada, to do that. So we have in-house, but again, those are a very limited number. We are talking 3 of those. So we will be stretched in order to reach our brick and mortar facilities once this comes on board. But we are not currently inspecting any of them because we do not have that agreement in place yet.
Thank you. Did you have any follow-ups?
No.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember, for the question. And we also have an Assemblymember Karas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for a great presentation. I got a little bit of a lesson earlier today from Kelly, which was greatly appreciated because I didn't understand a great many things that go into this bill. First, I'd like to say congratulations on being able to get the state system going, but could you please go a little in depth on First, the need you have for the state to be doing this, how it differs from the USDA, and what the mobile will do for you to help all the people in the state. Thank you.
Member Karas, Director Goycochea, for the record, yes, thank you for those questions. So the need really came to light during the pandemic especially. Where's our food coming from? There was a shortage of a lot of protein, and we continue to struggle with a shortage of protein in the state of Nevada, even the little round white ones, Assemblymember Watts. So we've worked on that one, so now we're trying to work on some of the actual meat proteins. How it differs from the USDA, it must be at least as stringent, if not more stringent, than the USDA regulations in order to go forward. So food safety, 100% on. It will actually be more stringent than those that are being USDA inspected. So there is no risk for that. And again, the mobile portion of this, a lot of remote ranches, a lot of remote communities, they do not have a brick and mortar processing facility in them. So this will create an avenue for those ranchers to be able to process those animals and get them to the retail market. And I should mention that as part of this, you will see Nevada stamped products in your grocery stores and in your restaurants.
All right, we next have a question from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation, and I think this is a great idea. I just want to one point of clarification, because there was a mention of a fee. I just want to make sure that's not, doesn't look like it's in the bill, so this is not a 2/3 bill, is it?
Director Goycochea, for the record, Assemblyman DeLong. So we actually have created regulations in AC 583. We went through that process literally over the last 2 years. And I say we, meaning the gal at the right over here, did that heavy lift. So that's where those fees are. There are no fees here. While there is a fiscal note on there, as I mentioned, we are working to try to find a way to make sure we have an inspector needed to follow this trader.
Quick follow-up? Yes, please. But it's not a 2/3 bill.
I will answer
Senator Greg
that.
Koenig, I don't see that on this paper right here, so.
It has not been deemed to be one at this time.
Thank you, Chair.
And let's hope
Very
it
good
stays that
answer.
way. All right. Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here, and I really do appreciate this bill. I think its time has come, and I appreciate the hard work that has been laid over the last several years to make this all kind of happen. I think 2019 with some of the poultry stuff, and I just wanted to give a little anecdote that I'd come across. Recently, we were in Ely, and there is a lovely steakhouse I think it's in the Ramada Inn, so a little shout out to Nevada rancher that owns it, operates it, supplies the meat. But then I was wondering, I'm like, where do they go? They must have to go pretty far for the inspection of their meat. And so I think maybe that could be Salt Lake, right? I think that's probably the closest for them. So I can see that this mobility would really serve well in a lot of our rural districts and save that cost, that time. And with this whole push, I think of us being a lot more conscientious about where our food's coming from, to know that it's right here, we're familiar with it, and we can take pride in it. I think it's just got so many benefits. My question, after all of that, is how long would we be looking at before the mobile units would really be able to be out and about?
Greg Koenig, for the record. There's one in Yerington, Nevada right now that has to be acting as they can't go anywhere. So that one, once this passes, there's that one all ready to go. And I think there's another one somewhere else, but I'm not sure where.
Assemblymember Hanson, Director Goycochea, for the record, yes, so Assemblymember Koenig is correct. There is one there, and it's in Yerington if it's for USDA inspected. These traders can already do custom exempt, so they can go out and process on a farm if they wish to. This is for the stamped product. And as soon as we have our cooperative agreement, and I promise you, the minute she puts it on my desk, it will be signed, then we will be going. So we are now just waiting for FSI has to get that. Once we get that, we'll be able to start immediately on that. And I do want to also, while you touched on Ely, so while we're talking about mobile here, I don't want to lose sight that we also have brick and mortar facilities in rural Nevada. And those apply here as well. Our regulations cover those, so they will not have to go to Tooele in that instance to have those processed, or to Twin Falls. There are some right there in White Pine County that they could use if they didn't use the mobile facility.
Assemblymember Watts.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to kind of follow up on a couple of questions from my colleagues, just make sure that I think, at least for all the members and others that are not as familiar with this, that they kind of understand the impacts that this can have. And I, too, am very supportive of this, really excited about it. So, you know, just going back to the custom and then also the state stamp, my understanding is that essentially, you know, for those kind of custom uses, I think you talked about it, but it really has to kind of not go anywhere, right? It's for personal use or maybe for a small kind of private event, something like that. And then the state stamp would be essentially, you know, we're moving into this new level. I think my understanding is that, so unlike a USDA stamp, we wouldn't be able to move those products out of the state. But I think, as you mentioned, we would now be able to have local producers provide products that could then go to retail or go to establishments within the state of Nevada. Is that correct?
So, Member Watts, Director Goycochea, for the record, yes, that is correct. And we have already been approached by one individual who has a contract with restaurants in southern and northern Nevada to provide ground beef, and he is waiting for this because he wants it to be Nevada stamped that he puts into those. It cannot cross state lines at this time. However, there's always talk, and sometimes Congress gets some work done, sometimes they don't. There have been bills in the past where there's actually a proposal to allow a limited amount of that product across state lines, so we will be prepared for that should that ever come.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's, you know, again, I think that's really helpful information. I think that's a really exciting development, especially for folks that take pride in having locally sourced products. And then I think the only other question I had, and yeah, I hope that Congress can get some things done. That's another story. I think the one other thing I just wanted to ask about, I think you mentioned there's 4 USDA facilities in the state. Could you just tell us kind of where those are at so that we can have an understanding of, again, some of the geographical needs that communities in our state face for getting their products processed?
Thank you for your question, Assemblymember. Shada Sanjita for the record. These 4 fixed facilities that are USDA inspected are sprinkled around northern Nevada. We have 1 facility in the Reno area. We have 2 facilities in the Fallon area. And the newest facility is down in the Gardnerville-Minden area.
Thank you. So this is just a comment. So that's northwestern Nevada. So all of eastern Nevada, all the way down to southern Nevada. That's a long way to go to get meat processed. So I think when you look at all that together, the opportunity for producers to have other options across the state and then be able to get those products to retail or to restaurants throughout the state be a real significant improvement for folks.
Assemblymember Director Goycochea, for the record, and you are exactly correct, but I think the one thing we don't want to lose sight of as well, if they are getting those inspected somewhere else, those are Nevada citizens and businesses that are losing that money. And if they can stay in this state, why would you drive out of state to get the same thing done? So that is what we are opening the door for as well.
And Senator Koenig, for the record, I know 2 of those facilities are in Fallon, in my hometown, but talking to the owners of those, they are more than excited to have the potential of that coming to be under the state instead of under the feds. I know that the one story I was told was they were in the process of processing the animal. The federal inspector got a phone call and stepped out and was on the phone for a while, and they had to completely stop everything and couldn't do anything until the guy came back in. So they're not all the way excited with having to work with the feds.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that question, because that brings up another question. Are there plans to try to get some of the brick and mortar areas in the Elko area, in the Vegas area, in the other areas? Because it is very heavy one spot.
Madam Chair, Director Goykochir, for the record, yes, so there are already brick and mortar facilities in those areas, but they are doing custom exempt. You bring it in, you take it home, you feed it to your family and non-paying guests. Those, we would go in and we would do an inspection to make sure that facility met our standards, and then we could have an inspector be available to those facilities if they want to go this route. They will be able to go both, so it's not one or the other. There's going to be times they're going to be doing the custom exempt. They may do that for Mr. DeLong, and then Mr. Koenig may come along and, hey, I need to kill 5 this week to put in the grocery store, and so then we would inspect those.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Seeing none, I think we will move on to testimony. We will start off with testimony and support here in Carson City. And just as a reminder, the 888 number that is listed on the agenda is not working. So if you wish to call in, the number to call in is 669-900-6833. You may begin when you're ready.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Kelly Kelly. That is Kelly. And I think it's probably abundantly clear to all of you that I'm in support of this bill. So that is going to be all that I come up here and say. But I appreciate all of your very well thought out questions and the quality of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Stacy M. Staci. The last name is EMM. I'm an extension professor with the University of Nevada, Reno Extension. I manage and direct a meat workforce development program for the university, which includes a mobile unit. So in 2020, we were contracted by Nevada Department of Agriculture during COVID in a food access, food insecurity project to build a prototype that was economically feasible for entrepreneurship. We now have that prototype. We picked it up in April of 2021. We did custom harvest first while we waited for USDA inspection. It took us from 2022 to 2024 to become USDA inspected. That was the timeline. That is how important it is to be able to work with these practices and these laws within the state with Nevada Department of Agriculture. So you can say that I am totally in support of this bill, and so is our project team. We continually, since the start of this project, we're also trying to train a workforce. Our mobile unit, while we do a lot of custom and our USDA inspected site is in Yerington, Nevada, we are starting to expand that across the state and into the rurals. Part of this project was to provide food access and food insecurity issues within the rurals. At that time, I was an extension educator in Mineral County, and we all know that it has one grocery store, and if 95A is cut off, they're without food in 3 days. I think the other important thing is our team is also working with entrepreneurs that want to open new plants, specifically in Elko County, in Lincoln County, and we did assist with the Douglas County plant. I am so thankful for Assemblyman Koenig and this committee for being positive about this change. We did not realize that NRS, that mobile units could not be an official establishment until Nevada Department of Ag worked on their administrative code. Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, I'm Doug Busselman. I'm the Executive Vice President of Nevada Farm Bureau. We first started working on the whole area of bringing Nevada meat production into operations during COVID. And we saw where the market channels were totally blown out, and we were in a pickle. And so our members adopted policy that first of all said that we wanted to establish a Nevada meat program in order that we could also have some of the things that other states in the West have, And we worked for a number of years with the Department of Agriculture. We worked with Shada on the regulation process. All of those things have moved us to where we are today. But again, under state law, mobile units were not permitted to be official establishments. And that's really the main purpose for this bill, is to bring about that ability for those mobile units to be authorized to be an official establishment to operate within the framework of the Nevada Meat Inspection Program. And we are very supportive of that passage for the bill, as well as bringing the program full circle. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shane Piccinini, S-H-A-N-E, P-I-C-C-I-N-I-N-I. I am with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. To say that we were in a pickle in 2020 is an understatement. We at the Food Bank of Northern Nevada are all in on local agriculture and doing everything possible to make as many communities in Nevada as food secure as possible. And we are grateful to the department and to the assemblyman for all of the work that has gone into this bill. Thank you.
Chair Anderson and members of the committee, Caleb Cage here on behalf of the Nevada Cattlemen's Association here in support of the bill. Thank you very much.
All right. See nobody else coming to the table here in Carson. Anybody in Vegas, in Elko, or on AVH?
Chair, there are no callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. Let's move on now to opposition. Is there anybody that would like to offer testimony in opposition to this bill? Here in Carson, Vegas, Elko, AVH.
Chair, there are no callers to testify in opposition.
Let's move on to neutral. Is there anyone wishing to testify who's neutral on the measure? Here in Carson, Vegas, Elko, AVH.
Chair, there are no callers to testify in neutral.
Thank you. Presenters, would you like to make any closing remarks? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Let's make it known that he has waived that. And thank you. I will close the hearing on AB 251. Thank you so much. So now we'll start with public comment. Just as a reminder, the number is not working. The correct number to use is 669-900-6833. And as a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person, by phone, or submit written public comment to the committee's email up to 24 hours after the meeting. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. And please remember to clearly state and spell your name. Anybody here in Carson? Las Vegas, Elko, AVH.
Chair, there are no callers on the line to give public comment at this time.
Thank you, everyone, and this concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be on Monday, March 17th. Thank you. Thank you. Elaine, you doing okay? Oh, sorry.